Welcome to Casa De Confidence, a podcast for you. You'll hear some incredible women
and some awesome, cool dudes
going confidently in the direction of their dreams and living in the purpose of their heart.
You're our host,
Julie DeLucca-Collins, and you are our sidekick. # handsome hot husband.
That again.
And the producer of the show.
That I am.
I am an author, speaker, coach, dreamer, and most of all,
we help people go in the direction of their dreams
and support them on their purpose. So pull up a chair,
grab a drink,
and make yourself at home because our casa
is your casa.
Hey there, friend. Welcome back to Casa De Confidence, where we talk all things personal growth, mindset, and how to live a life and create a business that you love with clarity and confidence. And of course, a little bit of coffee. And as you know, I'm Julie DeLucca-Collins. And today's topic, well, we're going to shift a little bit from how we look at progress and success. This has really been weighing on my mind lately. And as I've been journaling a lot of this and processing it, I thought, you know what? I know I'm not alone in this. And this is the lesson that I continue to learn. So I want to share it. I want to share it with, well, you, my friend, because you're listening. So let me ask you something. Because, by the way, this is a question I ask and I look back in my life and I know that. Have you ever felt completely stuck? I know I have. And at times we feel like we're doing it right. We're doing all the right things. We're showing up, but then something doesn't click and it doesn't feel right. And it feels like there's some invisible resistance. And what I found is that that is often the battle between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. And today, I don't want to just talk about these two, but I want to add a very powerful twist. And this is something that I remind myself of. I need to be like Elsa and let it go, right? And yeah, when we are bringing in mindset, whether it's growth and fixed mindset, it is important to also bring in that component, letting it go. And that is going to also help us keep our momentum. And it all ties together. So let's talk about it. All right. So for many years, in my 20s and in my early 30s, I definitely will raise my hand and say that I was the person with a total fixed mindset. And the reality is that as I started to work on myself, sure, that started to shift. And it hasn't, become perfect, but it has been a journey. Now, a fixed mindset, this is the belief that your abilities, your intelligence, even your potential is fixed, set at birth, that nothing changes and nothing upgrades. And you know what? I knew that I sort of improved, but I really believed in my 20s, well, this is who I am. And it is what it is. I am my father's daughter. I am my mother's daughter. And I did not see necessarily that there was a possibility for something different. And I know that that sounds familiar. I know that many of perhaps you have been there too. So this is where letting go really comes in. When we are in this fixed mindset, we attach our worth to every outcome. And I know that again in my 20s and in my 30s, and I was climbing my corporate career, every time I didn't get the promotion or every time the relationship wasn't working, I really made that mean that it was me. It was all about me. And because I wasn't worthy or because I was a failure. And once I started to kind of separate and let go, I started to learn that, the information of me failing, maybe the relationship not working the way that I thought it should. And every time that I didn't hit a goal, that was not a representation of who I was. It was just information that allowed me to then recalibrate, to really again say, oh, that didn't work that way. How would it work next time? And again, I started to see how those mistakes became my metrics, and that the mistakes were the teachers. And fast forward, right? I still have to remind myself of that. And sometimes when we separate and let go, right, and start to just give it a breather, then what happens is we start to see that we are watching the experience as opposed to drowning in the experience. Let me give you an example. When I did not get this big promotion that I was going for in my career, and they hired this other woman, and then, we were in a big expansion, and all of a sudden, all the different states and school districts that I was in charge of expanding to were not, allowing us to come in, and we weren't signing these contracts. I made it all about me. And then when they brought this new woman, I thought, oh my gosh, she's here to take over my job. I'm not good enough. Oh, everybody knows I suck. And I thought, ooh, okay, maybe that's not what it is. Maybe I need to recalibrate how I'm writing these contracts. Maybe I need to up level my skills. What if I did it differently? What if, rather than procrastinating sometimes to get the projects done, I started to really be able to proactively work toward them and stop comparing myself to somebody else and just allowing myself to say, I know what I'm working on, and I know that I'm good at this, and the things that I'm not good at, I'm learning. I am a work in progress. And as I started to do that, I again let go of the experience of me being really in the thick of things and drowning in the self-doubt and drowning in the inadequacies that I always looked at. And, when we look at something, then that's what grows. But when I started to then stop focusing on what wasn't good or what wasn't right, and I started to focus on my effort and how I was growing, how I was learning, then that is what began to grow. So for many of us, a growth mindset is really something that I wish we learned it more in school. I mean, honestly, there is so much stuff that we would kind of fast track ourselves into if we were just learning this, so much earlier in life. And, when we talk about a growth mindset, and for many of you, maybe this is the first time you're hearing it, but a growth mindset is the belief that we can change. And that was something, my friend, that again, I was stuck in the no, I can't. This is me. This is how I am. Take me or leave me, right? Now, our brain, when I started to learn that our brain is plastic, that you can learn, unlearn, relearn, and that it's not just fluffy self-help, because by the way, I used to roll my eyes at this whole self-help. But when I started to really say, is that real? Like, wait a minute, maybe I can change. Maybe I can learn new things. Maybe even though I think I learned this lesson before, I can relearn it again. And when I started to see that, all of a sudden things began to change. And all of this neuroplasticity, right? And all of this science, how our brain is able to shift and to evolve, it's really backed in science. In fact, the research in neuroplasticity, particularly the studies, are by neuroscientist Dr. Michael Merzenich and others, and they show that the brain rewires itself, forming new neural connections throughout life. And this means that we're never too old or too far gone or too set in our ways to change. Our mindset is not stuck. It's not fixed unless we believe it is. So with a growth mindset, what I started to do in my career and even now in my business, I embrace challenges. And, that was not always me. I saw challenges coming and I started to feel the dread. But as I see challenges now, I think to myself, okay, this is a great opportunity for me to level up my skills, for me to practice what I learned before. And I am going to be a work in progress. And I know that I can do this. And what starts to happen with a growth mindset also is that we are going to bounce back from these setbacks and we are going to see that the effort that we're putting in is part of the mastery. When I started doing yoga, would go into these classes and think, oh my God, I will never get it. It's so hard and I can't bend that way. And I realized that if I went into the class like that, it became very hard and it was very difficult and I would hate every minute of it. But if I started to, like I said before, become that curious observer or that person that was kind of not drowning, right, in the feeling of discomfort, but more like, oh, let me experience it and see what that is. Then what that started to happen is that the yoga class helped me see like, oh, last week I couldn't do this. Oh, you know what? My body is feeling a little tight or my body is loose. And as I started to embrace the challenge that a class would bring in the sense that, okay, this is an opportunity for me to practice getting better at certain poses, to being, having more balance as I stand in tree pose. And all of these things start to add up. So here's the kicker though, right? I needed to separate myself. I needed to kind of let go again, like Elsa says, and really step outside of the person in the yoga class, but really just watch Julie and her effort and her ability to, again, bounce back when she kind of stumbled and, wasn't the best at holding her balance. So we have to really be able to let go from the timeline that we sometimes set for ourselves. When I started yoga and I really started to focus into it, I wanted to be 100% perfect right away. And I wanted to really be able to do it. And I wanted to really be able to be these yogis that, we see and we envy. And when I detached and when I let go or separated myself from that need to be that thing like somebody else was, then I stopped obsessing. And I went from needing to be awesome right away to all of a sudden, right, saying, I'm in it to win it. I'm here to learn. And however long it takes, and this is something that is not just, I'm going to get there and I'm going to be perfect and it's period, the end. I'm going to be always a work in progress. But when I get there, there's always another piece of the journey that I'm going to be going through. This happens a lot also when I did the Camino de Santiago and I was walking my first Camino. My biggest frame of mind was, okay, we need to walk 20 kilometers today and we need to get to that village and we need to do that. And all of a sudden, the road and the effort and the walk and the hikes became difficult at times because I was focusing on the moment and focusing on like, wow, this is hard. I can't believe I'm having such a difficult time doing this. I can't believe it takes me forever to go up the hill. And oh my gosh, I don't, when I'm going down the hill, I think I'm going to stumble on these rocks and all of that focus took me away from actually enjoying the beauty of the walk, being present in the conversations that I was having with all the pilgrims that I was with. And as I started to see that it wasn't necessarily about where I was going to get to, but it was more about the moment and enjoying it and also saying, oh my God, that was really hard to go up the hill. How can I do that differently? Well, maybe I need to just focus more on where I'm putting my steps each step of the way. So when I started to do that, all of a sudden, it became much more of a learning experience, much of an enjoyable experience. And the same thing happens also now. And I'm reminded in my real life every day that if I really trust the process and I let go and think, right? What is it that I'm working towards? I'm working to be a work in progress. I'm working to be a better version of myself. I'm working at showing up and showing up as best as I can. Then I stop comparing. And by the way, in the Camino de Santiago, it's very easy to compare when you see all these hikers. And like there was a 80-year-old woman and she was trekking along and she passed me. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, look at her. She's like in the best shape of her life. And here I am in my 40s and I can't even get up this hill without being winded. That took away my energy. But when I started to cheer people on, like, oh my God, go them. I am going to continue to walk because the more that I walk, the better I get. And I am going to continue to, build the stamina to be there. So the same thing happens in our lives, in our everyday when we're scrolling and we're comparing and we're saying, look at that person. Oh my God, they're so good. I could never do that. Or how is it that they sold their offer? Or how is it that their podcast is number one? Or why is it that they have this beautiful family and a gorgeous house with the wonderful husband? And here I am, right? That comparison is robbing you of so much joy. So let's take a look at a real life moment because this is it, right? If you have worked at really continuing to go in this journey, my friend, I want you to pay attention to the real life moments. I work with so many different clients, and of course, I am my best client. And when these women who are incredible high achievers, sometimes they come to me and they are paralyzed. Why? Because they're really focusing and looking to the outcomes. They're white knuckling. They're putting all their effort into, oh, I gotta get this done. And then they have all this energy. And then when life happens and it knocks them and they don't have that motivation or they're no longer have the strength to white knuckle through, then they fail. And at least that's what they're telling themselves. And they not only tell themselves that, but they start to wonder if other people are thinking that. Oh, what if that doesn't work? What will people think? And why am I doing this? Is it really worth it? So the truth is, we have to let go not only of that little voice inside us that is always going to be telling you you're doing it wrong. Maybe it's not going to work. You're going to fail, or, people are going to laugh at you. And really, really what we need to do is let go and say, okay, well, if they don't believe in me, it's fine. I'm just going to put one foot in front of the other and see what my next best step is. Maybe people are going to judge me and they always are going to have an opinion, but let them judge me. Peace, my friend, is going to come from knowing that you're growing, that you are growing you, that you are improving every single day with the steps that you take, as opposed to, again, allowing yourself to be paralyzed by the what ifs and everything else that we have. So that is where your superpower is. And this is a lot of what we talk about with my clients. The superpower of putting the blinders on, reminding yourself who you are, and saying, I am a work in progress. So there's a lot of ways in which we can shift. And here are a few things that I typically will tell my clients. Number one, I love mantras. In it to win it, Julie. And I'm a work in progress and I'm working at, I'm a girl who is working at all of these things, right? And mantras are incredible because they could be a reminder, a thought that counteracts the initial thoughts that are, again, innate to us because our brain is always going to go to the negative. So what is your mantra? Try something like, I don't chase, I attract, or I'm doing me. I love you do you, I do me. And I always love also now saying good for her, not for me, right? These little mantras kind of get me going. And of course, as your Tiny Habits coach in residence, I will remind you that our brain creates behavior and starts to automate the behavior when it feels good. So celebrate the process and your wins. If you didn't hit a goal, if you didn't make that sale, celebrate it. If you didn't show up the way that you anticipated or planned to show up, celebrate that. And if you didn't, maybe get the pitch right, celebrate that you didn't get it right. And you're probably thinking like, oh my God, what does she mean, celebrate? Well, every single effort counts. Give yourself grace. Give yourself the space to say, I didn't hit the sale. Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm going to celebrate me because I still put the sale and the offer forward. I didn't show up like I wanted to. Okay. I'm going to celebrate that I am acknowledging that maybe my effort needs to be different. And what can I do different next time? Or what happened that kept me from showing up the way that I wanted to? Right? And of course, when you are reminding and you're celebrating how, you're processing your wins, be very gentle. And remember that we want to keep curiosity over criticism. Instead of saying to ourselves, why did I fail? Ask, what is this teaching me? What am I going to gain from this experience? And of course, affirm your growth. Speak it, write it, show it to yourself, show the evidence. Notice that you're evolving. Sometimes we have these tiny wins and we don't acknowledge them. And we spend so much time beating ourselves up for what we didn't accomplish, what we didn't get, what we didn't do, what we don't have. And it is the tiny wins that are stackable that then show us and give us the evidence that we're doing it. Give us the evidence that we're competent. And when we are competent, we are confident. So here's your reminder, my friend. Growing is not about having it all figured out. It's about the person you are becoming. And becoming is going to take practice, patience, and sometimes a little bit of letting go. Again, the Elsa principle, let it go. So if this episode resonated with you, go to Instagram or go to LinkedIn and, it's Julie DeLucca-Collins on all of the platforms and send me a DM. I'd love to hear how you are letting go. I'd love to hear how you are really focusing on creating a growth mindset as opposed to being stuck and drowning in that fixed mindset. Mindset sometimes is going to need a reboot. So let's keep the conversation going because the more that we unpack this together, the more that we can cheer each other on. And again, our stories, our wins, not only will keep us going, but can inspire the people that come behind us. So remember, my friend, you're not stuck. You're learning. Keep going. And people who are around you, again, let it go. Not everyone is going to get you. And you don't have to be everybody's cup of tea or cup of coffee for that matter. So until next time, keep showing up and be yourself. And don't forget, go confidently in the direction of your dreams. And handsome hot husband will be back next week. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Casa De Confidence. We thank you for listening, and if you want more, go to casadeconfidencepod.com. Check Julie out on her socials as Julie DeLucca-Collins. And you can also check out her website at goconfidentlycoaching.com. Have a great week, and don't forget, go confidently in the direction of your dreams.
Hi, everybody. I know that sometimes we get very lonely in this entrepreneur journey, and I want to invite you to join us into our limited time only Purposeful You Mastermind. For many of us entrepreneurs, we believe that we can do it all. But the reality is that doing it alone only creates a lot of overwhelm. So join us at the Purposeful You Mastermind. You can find out more information by going to bit.ly/Julie's Mastermind. This is going to be the place where you are able to then unlock your full potential and achieve long-term success for your business. Push you behind your current limits, expand your connections, discover new ideas, and implement them with confidence. You're going to get the support in all aspects and transforming you to the six-figure business you've been looking for. Pause and get off the hamster wheel if you've been spinning around. This is a time where you can get that support from like-minded entrepreneurs that are here to join you in your journey. Together, we can challenge the assumptions and land the speaking engagements and opportunities we want to grow our business and make an impact in the lives of people. See you then. Remember, you can find the mastermind at bit.ly, Julie's Mastermind.